Okay, let's look at last week's homework. Page 21. Number 1. You shouldn't let children play with matches. The reason it's play, I will explain today. It's part of today's lesson. Number 2, Bobby was lying in bed crying. He was not lying in bed in order to cry. He just happened to be crying in bed. Number 3, you can get there more quickly by taking River Road instead of the interstate highway. As we mentioned before, after every preposition, except for to sometimes, there must always be a noun. So this cannot be a verb, so we can change it into a noun by making it a gerund, taking. Number 4, Isabel expected to be admitted to the university, but she wasn't. So this is something that she is expecting. It has not happened. It is not certain. So we use the infinitive, to be admitted. 5, our lawyer advised us not to sign the contract until she had a chance to study it very carefully. Again, this is something that has not already happened. It is something that somebody is expecting them to do or not do. So we use the infinitive, not to sign. Strictly speaking, this should be to not sign, but in most cases, you will put the not in front of the to. Number 6, John was responsible for notifying everyone about the meeting. Again, after prepositions, you add a noun. Number 7. Oh, sorry, before that, I should say, if you say responsible to, that means the person you have to report to, or the organization you have to report to. So if you have to follow your boss, you are responsible to your boss. If you are an elected politician, you are responsible to your voters. 民意代表对选民负责. You use the word to, responsible to in this case. Number 7, apparently he failed to call several people. So this should be the infinitive. In this case, this is absolutely wrong. It's either gerund or infinitive. Choose one. And in this case, it should be infinitive. Something that he did not do. He was expected to do, but he did not do it. So you say failed to call. In fact, if someone does not do something they're supposed to, you can say that they failed to do something. Number 8, I couldn't understand what the passage said, so I asked my friend to translate it for me. Again, this is something that we often see, right? Ask to do something. Number 9, you can find out the meaning of the word by looking it up in a dictionary. So again, after a preposition, you have to use a noun. By the way, if for verbal phrases like this, right, to look something up, if the object is a pronoun, 受词如果是代名词, you put it in the middle like this. But if your object is an actual noun, you have to put it in the back. Right, so it is a pronoun, 代名词, so you can put it in the middle. But if you want to say like a word, you have to put it in the back. Number 10, no, that's not what I meant to say. How can I make you understand? And again, the reason it is understand, we will talk about today as part of today's lesson. 11, Serena wore a large hat to protect her face from the sun. This is in order to protect. For this purpose. Number 12, we like to go fishing on weekends. So if you are talking about a single trip, suddenly you want to go fish, then yes, you can say you want to go to fish or you want to go fish. But if this is something that you do regularly, like every weekend, then it is no longer uncertain. So you cannot use the infinitive. 如果习惯每周末都去的话，那就没有不确定性，你就不能用不定词，它就确定了。So it must be the gerund. 13, maybe you can get Charlie to take you to the airport. 14, my doctor advised me not to eat food with a high fat content, 过多的脂肪. Right? Fat does not here mean like a body that is bigger than usual. Fat here is a kind of protein source, I think. So like 脂肪. 15, doctors always advise to eat. Sorry, it should be advised to. Advised to eat less and... Oh, okay. Sorry. Advise two things, this thing and that thing. So this should be eating less and exercising more. These two ideas are the content of the doctor's advice. The doctor in this sentence is not advising any specific person to do something or not do something. This is just general advice. So there is no uncertainty. 16. Alan smelled something burning, but when he ran into the kitchen, he saw fire coming out of the oven. Sorry, not but. When he ran into the kitchen, he saw fire coming out of the oven. This is correct. If you don't know, oven is where you bake things, 烤箱. So this was page 21. Do you have questions? Okay, page 22. Number 2. A, why didn't you go to class this morning? B, I didn't want to go to class this morning. There is nothing wrong with this sentence. This one is correct. Number 3, did you call your mother? What are we doing? Oh, okay, cross out the unnecessary words. Okay, sorry. So 2, why didn't you go to class this morning? B, I didn't want to. So you don't have to repeat the same information. Number 3, A, did you call your mother? B, no, but I ought to. Again, you don't have to repeat the same information. 4, Have you taken your vacation yet this year? So like notice the word yet, right? It means没 question mark. 做了没？今年度假了没? So there is an expectation that B should take a vacation every year. This is for, usually I think this should be for workers. If you have a job, a full-time job, it will come with a certain number of vacation days. And if you don't use your vacation days, they can expire every year. So A is asking B, have you used your vacation days yet this year? B, no, I haven't, but I intend to. So these three questions are to remind you that when you reply with the infinitive, you can omit redundant information, 省去重复的资讯. And so that's why these end with the word to. Everything else is just skipped. Questions? All right, next one. Okay, so I guess we have to change these. If we have to, then we should change each one. David is in Mexico to visit. So this is related to in order to. In order to expresses purpose, 目的. So if there is an action, like a verb, then we have to change it. But if it's a noun, then we don't have to change it if it comes after a preposition. So for example, number 2, for a convention. A convention is a noun, it is not a verb, so this one is correct. 3, for his cousin's wedding. It's a noun, correct. 4, to go sightseeing. It's a verb after to, so this is also correct. 5, to learn Spanish. It is a verb, so it should come after to. You can also say for learning Spanish, but nobody really says that. It's grammatical, but nobody says it. Number 6, for his health. In other words, the doctor told him that if he is in Mexico, it would be better for his health. He would suffer less. Maybe the air is better. I don't know. So this is a common saying, to do something for your health. Number 7, to see the Mayan ruins, 玛雅人的那个古迹。8, 对不起 ruin 是遗迹。8, for the cool mountain air, correct. Do you have questions about this one? Am I going too fast? Okay, next one. Correct the errors. Number 2, Helen borrowed my dictionary to look up the spelling of occurred. Notice that the word occurred is in italics. 斜体. Sorry, italics. There are a number of uses for italics. In this case, it is used to tell you that we are not looking at the meaning of the word. We are looking at the presence of the word. 我们讲的不是这个字的意思，而是它的出现。看的是字本身，不是它的意涵。Number 3, the teacher opened the window to let some fresh air into the room. So these are both in order to look up, in order to let in some fresh air. Number 4, I came to this school to learn English in order to learn English. Number 5, I traveled to Osaka to visit my sister, all of these are in order to. Questions? Okay, next page, page 23. Correct the errors. Number 1, I don't mind having a roommate. I don't mind, 我不介意. So what follows this should be the object. What do you not mind? So it has to be a noun. Number 2, most students want to return home as soon as possible. Again, this is a very common collocation. Want to 这两个常搭在一起. Has it happened yet? No. Is it certain? No. So we use the infinitive to. Number 3, learning about another country is very interesting. Not it is. Okay, so country is very interesting. Learning about another country is the subject of this sentence. The verb is. So you don't need this it. You already have a subject. Number 4, I tried very hard not to or to not make any mistakes. You already have the verb try, so you don't need another verb do. Number 5, the task of finding a person who could tutor me in English wasn't difficult. After the preposition of, you need a noun. Number 6, all of us needed to go to the ticket office before the game yesterday. You already have the past tense in needed, so you don't need to change this verb to past tense. To go to, needed to. Needed to is another common collocation, and then go to is another common collocation. 7, I'm looking forward to going swimming in the ocean. Oh gosh, there should be a better answer, right? You can also just say swimming, and you can just kill off the go entirely. I'm looking forward to swimming in the ocean. I'm looking forward to going swimming in the ocean. Both are fine. The point is that when you look forward, you are looking forward to something. So even though it's a to, the object has to be a noun. So here we use the gerund. 8, skiing. I know it looks weird. This is how you spell it. Skiing in the Alps was a big thrill for me. If you don't know, ski is 滑雪. And the Alps are 阿尔卑斯山. So this is your subject. Skiing in the Alps. This entire activity is your subject. Therefore, you do not need another it. So by the way, if you see this kind of phrase, the Alps, has a the and then ends in a plural. These are always a mountain range, 山脉. Number 9. Don't keep asking me the same questions over and over, said the grammar teacher. To keep doing something. So in this case, this is not exactly a gerund. This is more present participle. This is 现在分词, right? Progressive, 进行式. When you keep doing something. So don't keep asking. Number 10, during a fire drill, 消防演习, everyone is required to leave the building. Again, this is also a common collocation, required to. You can also think of it in terms of the infinitive. Has this actually happened? No. But in case it happens, people are required to do this. So it's uncertain. You should use the infinitive. Number 11, I don't enjoy playing card games. I prefer to spend my time reading or watching movies. So enjoy verb, your object is playing card games. This is your noun. Spend time doing something. 13, sorry, 12. Is hard for me understand people who speak very fast. Okay. It is hard for me to understand is the correct answer. So as we mentioned last time, sometimes you would use the infinitive as the subject of your sentence, but when your subject is too long, you can move it to the back of the sentence and in front add the word it to tell your reader that the actual subject comes later. In this case, the subject of the sentence is to understand people who speak very fast. This is a long subject. So the writer has chosen to put it in the back and add the word it in front to tell the reader that the actual subject is in the back. For me to understand. This is correct. 13. When I entered the room, I found my young son standing on the kitchen table. This actually happened. It is very concrete. 14. When I got home, Irene was lying in bed thinking about what a wonderful time she'd had. Okay, do you have questions? So since we have this sentence, I thought it would be a good time to explain this. What is the difference between to me and for me? 对我来说, which one should you use? So both of these can be translated as 对我来说, but the meaning is a bit different. And if you use it wrong, native speakers will know that you are not a native speaker. Here's the difference. In terms of spatial metaphors, 如果用空间比喻的话, to is more of an arrow. It's a point. 是个箭头,是个点. For is more of a web, 像是个网状. So for me is about experience. In your own personal experience or your own very subjective opinion. To me is in your analysis. After thinking about it, you think this makes more sense. So if you're talking about some kind of event or activity, something related to experience, you would use for me. But if you're discussing some kind of issue or topic, and you want to give your opinion on this public issue or question of fact, you would say to me, because you are using your brain to engage in analysis. 听懂举手。好，用中文讲一遍。For me 比较偏主观个人经验 ，to me 比较偏主观个人分析。所以 for me 比较像是个人体验 ，to me 比较像是对一件事情，譬如说什么新闻事件或是议题的看法。 暂听懂举手。好 ，OK， 过半了。好 ，Next page 24. Progress report. Coffee break control. Okay. From Ms. Bell, coffee break coordinator. A coffee break, you should know, is a break, a very short break in the morning or afternoon to let people get coffee. From Ms. Bell. Okay, so I should mention this. Honorifics, 敬称. For a man, you say Mr., right? For a woman, you have a few choices. Miss is an unmarried woman. Mrs. is a married woman, and you should add the name that usually you should add her husband's last name. But if you don't want to tell people whether she's married or you don't know if she's married, you can use this. This is Ms. This is Miss. This is Ms. 一个 S 不发音，一个 S. The S is in Miss is unvocalized. 就不会用到声带. But the S in Ms is vocalized. It sounds like a Z. So here, Ms. Bell just tells you she's a woman. Coffee break coordinator, 召集人. To Ms. Schwartz, department head, 部长,部门长官. In regards to coffee break control. Okay. As you know, this is correct. 如你所知. I am now in charge of implementing the new directive, which means like making sure this new order is carried out, that people follow this new order. That every employee submit to a coffee residue test. Why is it submit? I will explain this next week. But basically the reason is because it's a subjunctive. 它是假设语气. So it has not happened, but if employees follow the order, then every employee has to do this. If they follow the order, so it's a subjunctive. Coffee residue test. Residue is 残留. If a test is given at a time when coffee sipping is not authorized and the results are positive, the policy requires that the worker donate a pound of coffee to the break room. So this is donate for the same reason that this is submit. A new directive, this order says that employees must do something. This policy requires that somebody has to do something. Both are subjunctive. Do not ask, right? Do is present tense, ask is past tense. This is imperative. 它是祈使句. Do not ask me to describe the union's reaction to this directive. Union here is 工会, labor union. If I told you what the shop steward said, you would blush. Maybe I should have assigned this for next week's homework. It's a lot of subjunctives. All I can say is that the steward, 服务生, was not happy. Would you have known about the reaction before issuing directive? You would have had reconsidered. Okay. Okay, I see what's going on. So Ms. Bell is writing this email to Ms. Schwartz. Ms. Schwartz gave the order, and Ms. Bell is carrying out the order. So now Ms. Bell is telling Ms. Schwartz how people are reacting to this order. So, had you known about the reaction before issuing the directive, issue means to give out the order, you would have reconsidered. One more thing. The coffee stains on my shirt, if they were to remain, should not make you. That's a very weird way to write this sentence, but I know what it's trying to say. If the coffee stains on my shirt, if they remain, should be remain, should not make you think that I was drinking coffee outside of the official break time. So why would there be coffee stains? 咖啡渍, because somebody was drinking coffee. So this is past tense. These stains resulted from coffee being thrown at me. Oh, 有人对他泼咖啡. Sorry, we'll come back to this in 2 weeks. It's a lot of stuff we haven't taught yet. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions. And then I said 25, you don't have to do. Okay. So that was the homework. This week we're going to talk about a few special verbs. We can make this bigger. These 6 verbs can be quite complicated. So I decided to talk about them separately. So let's start with be. We already know that be can be used as part of a passive. Right? Here the word be is used in the passive. The original meaning of be is exist, 存在. So that's why you have things like when Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, 我思故我在, 那个在, right? Therefore I exist. His idea is that thinking for yourself is what makes you a person. Hamlet by Shakespeare has the famous quote, to be or not to be, that is the question. So to translate this, he's asking himself whether he should kill himself. So should I exist or should I not exist? Should I live or should I die? So the word be can also mean exist. But most of the time, we use the word be like this, right? Or like this. I have talked about this kind of sentence in passing a couple of times, and I always said, this is the subject, this is the verb, and this completes the sentence. It is not an object. The word be does not take an object. And the reason is because we're actually using the meaning of the word exist. So really, when you say the grass is green, You're saying the grass exists green. It is green. You can also think like the grass is. How is it? It is green. How does it exist? It exists in a green-like fashion. My performance is, it exists. I have a performance. When is the performance? Next week. So I say that this completes the sentence. Really what this is called is a complement. And if you look up the word complement in a dictionary, it will tell you it is something that makes something else complete. In Chinese, we call this 补语. 它把句子补齐. So a complement can be an adjective, 形容词. It can be an adverb. Next week is a time. Time is adverb. Or it can be a noun. My favorite car is a Ferrari. Ferrari is a noun. It's a kind of car. So there's a little philosophy question here. Often English teachers will say the word is like an equal sign, 相等号,左右相等. What is on the left must be the same thing as what is on the right, especially when your complement is a noun. But if you change the order, does it mean the same thing? If I say a Ferrari is my favorite car, does that mean the same thing as my favorite car is a Ferrari? It doesn't, because if you start the sentence with a Ferrari, that means that you are introducing a Ferrari into the situation. So, for example, you might say, is speeding down the highway. Right? You have introduced the Ferrari, it is doing this thing. But if you say a Ferrari is my favorite car, this opens up an ambiguity, 模糊性, which is, so you're talking about your specific favorite car, like this Ferrari, but not that Ferrari? Or are you talking about the kind of car, a Ferrari type of car? It's uncertain. So the grammar is correct, but the situation is very confusing. So the word is actually does not function like an equal sign. There is a difference between what you put on the left and what you put on the right. But sometimes you will see a sentence like this. For example, in Taylor Swift's song Invisible String, she says green is the grass in the park where I used to read in Centennial Park. In fact, this is an inverted sentence. The structure is still the same as the grass is green. Taylor is simply putting the complement first and the subject second. The grammar is the same, it's just a reverse order. And then finally, if you use the word be in an imperative, I think we talked about this. It follows the same rules. You would use the original form of the word. Right, this is an order. Be here on time next week. Okay, questions about be. I'm sure you know the declensions of be, right? Is, sorry, am, are, is, are, were, you know, like the different versions of be. Okay, so next is make. I'm going to put these three together. Make, let, and have. these three words, have has many meanings, right? But make, let, have, these three words can all function as causative verbs. In Chinese, we call this 使役动词. It's causative because you use it to cause somebody to do something. Where's the... Yeah, okay. I made him open the window. So I caused him to go do something, to open the window. You'll notice that the grammar here, there is no to. In this case, open the window functions as the complement of the sentence. If you say I made him, people will think, okay, what did you make him do? The sentence is not finished. So you have to finish the rest of the sentence. What did I make him do? I made him open the window. And so we saw a few questions like this in the homework today. After the word make or let or have, you can directly add the verb in its original form and finish the sentence. Now, the problem is these three words are translated the same in Chinese. In Chinese, we would all say, for all of them, we would say 让或是使, right? 我让他开窗, 我使他开窗, 我叫他开窗. There is no real difference. But in English, these three words are different. Let's see if you can feel the difference. I made him open the window. I let him open the window. And I had him open the window. I'll tell you right now, one of them is forcing him to open the window. He doesn't want to do it. One of them is allowing him to open the window. He wants to do it. He could not do it. Now I'm allowing him to do it. And one of them is neutral. It does not tell you whether he wants to open the window or not. Which one is which? 哪一个是哪一个? Actually, I already gave you the answer. The first one, he does not want to open the window. So I made him. 强迫他. The second one, he does want to open the window, but there was some problem preventing him. I have solved that problem. Now he can open the window. 我允许他. And the third one does not tell you the situation. So in Chinese, we would just say 我叫他. Another way to say this is, I had him open the window, does not care if he wants to open the window or not. I'm sure he has his own opinion. I just don't care. Questions? So in English, if you want to write this kind of sentence, you do have to know whether the person wants to do the thing or not. You can't just use have all the time because sometimes it does matter. It is important whether the person wants to or not. But the word had can also be used in a similar way. In a kind of passive, but you don't have to write the word be. So for example, I had the flowers sent to her. In this case, there should be a be here. Right. That way it fits this structure to have object verb, have object verb. But if it's a be verb, you can omit it. 可以省略. And so the complete sentence would be, I had the flowers sent to her. Or the CIA had him killed. So in this sentence, the CIA arranged somebody to kill him. Same thing, right? You're omitting a B. Okay, do you have questions about these three words? Okay, I skipped do. Do is an interesting word. Do is in every complete sentence, we just omit it. 每个句子都省略一个 do. The word do always goes before the verb. But in most of the cases, we omit it. We don't use it when we don't have to. So when does it appear? Well, if you remember, I mentioned that if you do something to a sentence, if you do something to the verb cluster of a sentence, it affects the first word in the verb cluster. 如果要动到动词组的话，一定会影响动词组的第一个字。So if you do something to this sentence, the word that is changed is do. For example, if you change it into a question, then it becomes do I love my dog? If you change it into a negative, then it becomes I do not love my dog. The change always happens to the first word in the verb cluster. Now, sometimes online you might see somebody say something like question mark. I love my dog question mark. There is no do. But the meaning of these two sentences is different. Do I love my dog is a straightforward question. I love my dog question mark is not asking a question. It is expressing uncertainty about this statement. So I love my dog. Is that true? Is that right? Is that accurate? That's what this question mark is saying. Not do I love my dog, but I love my dog. Is that sentence correct? Okay, now sometimes you will see the word do in a simple direct sentence. Usually this is for emphasis. Right? So I love my dog is a simple, straightforward sentence, but I do love my dog is emphasis, 加强语气. And then do has a past tense did. I'm sure you know this. Do has one more meaning, or I guess two meanings. One is, I guess it's the same meaning. Okay, do has one more meaning. Do is a simple action. Do something, which means like, I don't tell you what you should do, but you need to take some kind of action. Or like there's a very popular question in the West, especially the US. What would Jesus do? So like if you're faced with a tough question and you happen to be a Christian, somebody might remind you, you can think about your situation like this. What would Jesus do? So in this case, you don't know what this action is. All you know is that it is an action. So do can function as a pure verb, a pure action. Another way to say this is as a placeholder verb or a placeholder action, as a 卡位用的. So for example, A says, I left the room. B says, that's what I would do too. Do here just means to leave the room. This action can be condensed into the single verb do. Okay, questions? All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we will hear a presentation from group 4. 刘友玲有来吗？哎，来找我一下。
My name is Amber. They are my team member. And next, I will talk about the contents. First is about the article, and third is what is present tense, and third is how to describe a story of spirit in a simple way in the present tense. And last is personal views on present tense. Next, I will talk about introduction about the article. This passage explores the profound connect literature and life, emphasizing how books preserve the wisdom of past figure. The author shared personal experiences about finding solace and wisdom in literary works during challenges, highlighting the power of quotes to convey emotions. The text raised the question of integrating past voices into our community, ensuring their relevance of our lives. Now I will pass my microphone to my team member.
Hi, my name is Ray, and I'm going to talk about what is present tense. We'll introduce four types of present tense. The first one is present simple. It means that you need to have the subject and the verb, or be verb like am, are, or is. Uh, okay. The first sentence is that her father is a teacher. Her father is the subject, and the is the be verb. Her father is a teacher. The second sentence is I brush my teeth every day. I is the subject and brush is the verb. The second one is present progressive. It means that you need to have the subject and be verb, like we said, am, are, or is, and the ing. And the sentence is she is singing in the classroom. In the sentence, she is the subject, and you also have the be verb is and sing ing. The third one is present perfect tense. You need to have the subject, of course, and have or has plus VPP. The sentence is Julia has worked at the same bank for 10 years. The sentence Julia is the subject, and because it's Julia, so you use has. And work, you need to have VPP. And the last we will introduce is present perfect progressive tense. You need to have the subject, have been or has been, and ing. The sentence, we have been seeing each other for 2 months. We is the subject, have been, ing. So we have been seeing each other for 2 months. Yes. Seeing. Uh, yes. So next person will talk about next.
All right. Uh, if you pay attention to what he said, and he just introduced the simple way we use the present tense. Now I'm going to introduce a special way of using present tense. That is the main idea in the article we read this time. So, how do we describe a past story or spirit in simple way in the present tense? All right, so the text here is mainly from the article. So I just copy all the content there, here in the slide. All right, so what is the time that we use present tense to describe a past event or story, maybe? Because that is at the time when we want to say something about ancestral companionship. You want to say there's a spirit that someone said before, and this person is very famous for everyone, and it is very meaningful, and you want to stay with the guy or the thought he just said before, then we'll use past tense. No, the present tense to describe. So normally we'll see this kind of grammar in novel, poem, or plays. So only in written work. So now I'll give you an example that is listed in the article. Here is, oh no, there's the example of the time that we cannot use present tense to describe the past event. Like here, the sentence, in her testimony at the House Committee on Un-American Activities, Lillian Hellman declares, I cannot and will not cut my conscience to fit this year's fashions. So you see this sentence happened in the past, and the grammar here it used present tense to describe a past event. However, it is about the spoken word rather than what I said before. We need to use it in written works. So here we cannot use present tense to describe this kind of sentence. So we will change that with declared the past tense. All right, and there's another example that provided by the article. The sentence is, my late grandma Gladly tells me never to forget about the folks who don't grow up with advantages like I have. Here, although maybe her grandma is very important to the person, however, it is only about the spoken language. So we will use past tense rather than present tense here. All right, and we found another examples on the net. Here is a literary works, and in this work, there's a sentence in George Orwell's 1984. So 1984 is a literary work we mentioned. So 1984, the protagonist Winston Smith begins to question the oppressive regime. Okay, so here, 1984 was written in the past. However, we want to describe the spirit of the book or something said in the book, so we use present tense here. Okay, so next we'll talking about our personal feeling and views on present tense. I'll give the floor to Alois.
Okay, hi. And now we're uh, talking about a few exercises we did on this presentation. We often separate the present tense from the past tense. So we'll have two sides, and this is our exercise we did yesterday. The A, she works at a hospital in present tense, but in past tense, it becomes to she worked at the hospital. And in B sentence, I am studying now is the present tense. But turning to the past tense, it becomes to I was studying at 10 last night. So it's the same thing with C sentence. I work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. It turns to the past tense. It will be like I worked from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's just like what we do every day. The present tense is used to describe the present state, reality, ongoing actions, or habits. The past tense is used to describe an action, event, or state change be complete in the past. So you can easily tell the difference in the sentence. And as for describing a past event by using the present tense, there's a comparison. Present tense is Shakespeare writes some famous plays during his career, like Romeo and Juliet. But in the past tense, it will become Shakespeare wrote some famous plays during his career, like Romeo and Juliet. The rights become wrote. The analysis from the ChatGPT, we asked him about this, and he told the ChatGPT told us the first sentence used the historical present tense, creating an immediate and engaging narrative about Shakespeare's past actions. In the second sentence, the standard past tense is used for straightforward past events. This is our own use in the past tense and the present tense, and that's our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Group 4. So, as the title of their presentation reminds us, when we use the present tense for written words, it's kind of like bringing the written past into the present with us. So it's the title of this chapter is Friends in the Graveyard, 坟墓里的朋友. As we said, so first of all, thank you, Group 4, for the review session on using the present tense. As we mentioned in class before, for written works, the tense should always be present tense because when you write it down, it is timeless, outside of time. So you use the present tense. According to the author, this also means that such people or actions or content will always be with us. If it's outside of time, then it is always with us. And the author thinks that this is a comforting thought, 是一种安慰. So throughout our life, we will face the death of people in our lives. But if they have written something down, we can always keep it with us. Taylor Swift has a song called Marjorie about her grandmother, and one of the lines talks about finding grocery shopping lists in her pocket after she's gone. Okay, so thank you again to group 4. I want to remind everyone to please submit your peer review sheets in a timely manner. If you miss the deadline, I will deduct at most 25 points from your midterm grade. 如果互评表错过缴交期限，我会扣多达25分从你的期中成绩。Okay, back to the lesson. So I mentioned that do can be used as a placeholder, 可以当卡位用 for verbs, for actions. But what if you need a placeholder for other things? In this case, we would use the word so. For example, so in this case, the word so is a placeholder for this idea. Or, you can say, you can even, because the word think is also repeated, so you can even include that in your placeholder. So in this case, the word to means think that summer is the best season. Okay, so we've talked about be, do, make, let, and have. Let's talk about get. Now, I do have to warn you, this is going to be a little bit complicated. 有一点小小复杂. The word get originally means acquire, 取得. But it has grown many different meanings. Probably the most common meaning is a more active form of be. So we said that the passive voice is be plus past participle, but sometimes you can use get instead. Be is more static, 静态的. Get is more active. I don't want to say active because then you have an active passive voice. That's very weird. Get is more dynamic, 比较动态. So for example, I was caught simply describes your situation. But if you want to emphasize somebody doing the action of catching you, you can say I got caught. Now, get, got, has two past participles. You can have got or you can have gotten. If you use gotten, that means acquire, the original meaning of get. So, sorry. So get can mean acquire, or it could also mean become. So if you use gotten, that's this meaning. So you can say, I have gotten a car. You have a new car. You can also say, I have gotten angry, which means I have become angry. So when do you use the word got? It's used with, okay, so got as a past participle means the same thing as have, and it's also used with have as emphasis. So these two sentences are already complete, right? I have to tell you, I have a great idea. But if you want to emphasize this fact, you can add the word got. I have got to tell you, I have got a great idea. And so sometimes you'll see the contraction. I've got to tell you, I've got a great idea. Okay, so that is the word get. I think that's everything, right? So like if someone says get better soon, 祝你早日康复. This is become, right? I hope you it's an imperative, 它是祈词句. It's ordering the person to become better soon. But then you also have things like get lost. Or sorry, not get lost, but we got lost. We became lost. We lost our way. Or like they got out. They ran away. We closed them up, but they ran away. They got out. All of these mean become. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, do you have questions about get? Okay, so let's look at page 25. We have 16 questions. I'll give you 10 minutes to do these questions. "15 questions. The first one has been done for you. Okay, let's compare answers. Number 2. I asked my roommate to let me use his shoe polish. Shoe polish is something you use to clean your shoe. 鞋油. 3. I heard a car door opening and closing. And, so there are two objects, open and close. They both have to have the same grammar. So it's either to open and to close or opening and closing. In this case, it is very certain, 非常确定的. So you should not use the infinitive. You have to use the present participle. Number 4, I had my friend lend me his car. To lend is to borrow out. To borrow is to lend in. lend借出, borrow 借入. 5. You should visit my country. It is so beautiful here. I'm not sure why this question is here, but the answer is so beautiful. Too beautiful means that something is wrong. So beautiful just means very beautiful. 6. I went to the college bookstore to get my books for the new term. A term is a semester. 学期. So this is in order to. Number 7. One of our fights ended up with me having to go to the hospital to get stitches. 缝针. So have to. Having is correct because it's a complement. 它是补语. Ended up with me. Okay, so technically it should be with my having to. But in spoken everyday English, you can use me instead. Having to, so to, after to, you use the original form, 人形, go to. Could be, yes. Having to go to or be sent to. Depends on whether you want to emphasize who does the driving. Yeah. Although, you know, in sometimes the victim does have to drive themselves. And then in the end, to get stitches, this is in order to. Or you can just say like 4 stitches. No, you have to say to get, you have to use the word get. To get stitches, 去缝针. 8. Lily deserves to be told the truth about what happened last night. That does not sound good. But in this case, it should be past participle. This is passive voice, be told. Number 9, Barbara. Notice how I said that. Barbara. 2 syllables, 2个音节. Barbara. Always makes me laugh. She has a great sense of humor. Number 10. Stop telling me what to do. Let me make up my own mind, which means let me make my own decisions. Number 11. I went to the pharmacy, 药局, to have my prescription filled. So the first one is in order to. The second one, you use the word have as a causative verb, so you should not have to. It should be to have my prescription be filled, and you can omit the B. You shouldn't let children play with matches, 火柴. When Shelley needed a passport photo, 护照照片, she had her picture be taken or just taken by a professional photographer. Right? Her picture be taken by somebody. It's passive voice. 14. I finally assembled enough information to begin writing my research paper. Assemble means put together. So here it means collect. I've collected enough information in order to begin. 15. Omar is at the park right now. So present tense, this is correct. He is sitting on a park bench watching the ducks, 鸭子, swimming in the pond. The sad expression on his face makes me feel sorry for him. And 16. The music director tapped his baton, 指挥棒, baton, to begin the rehearsal, 排练, 排演. So again, this is in order to. Do you have questions about page 25? Okay. Homework. No homework. That's the good news. The bad news is next week's homework is the rest of your first handout. 下周功课就是要把你手上讲义写完. So this week, no homework, but next week, more homework. And this is because next week we will be doing the subjunctive, 假设语气. We have a little time. Let's begin now. The subjunctive can take a long time, so let me give you the first part right now. So I mentioned that English has a number of moods. The direct, simple mood is the indicative. Sometimes you have the imperative, 祈使句. Sometimes you have the interrogative, 疑问句. The subjunctive mood is when things are not certain, 假设语气. Now, when I say subjunctive or like 假设语气, most of you will think of a sentence that begins with if. Technically speaking, this is not a subjunctive mood. A subjunctive mood should do something to the verb. A mood is a verbal quality. It should not give you a completely new sentence. So next week's unit is called the subjunctive mood and conditional sentences, 条件语句. Sentences beginning with if are the conditional sentences. So today, the last thing I want to talk to you about is the subjunctive mood. The subjunctive mood in English is simply the original form of the word most of the time. So if we look back at page 24, some of these questions are in the subjunctive mood. For example, this one, the new directive that every employee submit to a coffee residue test. This is submit. The directive that every employee submit, blah, blah, blah. Right, so this is an order. It's a directive. Something you should do, something you must do. Did you actually do it? We don't know. But we assume that you will do it because you have to. And so this is uncertain. We don't know whether you actually will do it. So in this case, you can use the subjunctive mood, 假设语气. So this looks like the original form of the word. It's actually in the subjunctive mood. In English, in order to express the subjunctive mood, you use the original form of the verb. 英文真正假设语气其实就是动词原形。If this was a regular sentence, you would have it's employee, right? Every employee is singular. You would have submits, like it says in the question. But this is not an indicative sentence. This is a subjunctive sentence. So you just take away everything that you add to the verb and you leave the original word. In English today, the subjunctive happens mostly in the actual subjunctive mood usually happens in two places. This kind of sentence. A verb like suggest, order, some kind of expectation with the object that is a complete sentence. That followed by a complete sentence. Did you follow the order? Did you follow the suggestion? Did you follow the advice? We don't know. So it is uncertain. So you can use the subjunctive, which looks like the original form. Let's change this to make it clearer. I suggested that she go home. So it's in the past tense. The suggestion is in the past tense. But did she actually go home then? We don't know. So it's subjunctive, 假设语气. Looks like the original form of the verb. This is the first place we still see the original subjunctive. The second place is in using the word be. Blah, blah, blah. Whether it be right or wrong. So in a regular sentence, this would be whether it is or it was right or wrong. But because we don't know if it's right or wrong, we can use the subjunctive be. This use of the subjunctive be is also preserved in the phrase be that as it may, which simply means nonetheless. 尽管如此. So this means it may be like that. If it is like that. Is it like that? We don't know. So be that as it may be like that. And then there's also a phrase that I think that comes from like the Bible or something older. So be it. 就这么做吧. This combines the use of the word so as a placeholder for a complete sentence. 我们刚刚讲到 so 可以顶替一整句的卡位. Right? So be it is an order. Be it like so. So it's not subjunctive. Sorry, it's imperative. 没事. So this is the original form of the subjunctive. Sometimes you will see something like had we enough time means if we had enough time. So in the past, we had seen you had better do something. Same sentence structure. It would be better if you go home. You had better go home. Is the same sentence structure. This is also an older form of subjunctive. Next week, so this is the original form of the subjunctive in English. Questions? Okay, so next week we're going to talk about all of those like if questions or if sentences. And it will probably be the hardest lesson related to verbs. It will also be the last lesson related to verbs. 2 weeks later, we're going to start talking about nouns. And next week, I will also pass out. The week after next, I will pass out the second handout. 下周发新的讲义. Okay, see you next week.